morning, good afternoon, guys. We're back for another Geek Tavern, and we're trying out... I don't know, did you guys do this for Subplot already?
We did.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well, we're
Twice
continuing
now.
our new model of video.
Yes.
So, I don't have anything to say about what new came out, or anything that I've seen in the meantime, but...
Are
biggest...
we doing introductions, or...
Eh.
Like, for the audio, are they going to know who we are?
Oh, that's true. As always, it's me, Shawn, and I'm joined by Mike.
Hello.
And Aaron.
Yo.
And, yeah, here we go.
There it is, whatever.
There.
Yeah, so this whole format threw me off, I guess.
Yeah, so the really the biggest and only news actually kind of pertains to what we're here to talk about.
It does, 100% pertain to what we're here to talk about.
I thought it was kind of funny that it literally dropped on the day that we're recording this. Spider-Man 3 has a name. Yes. And it's not Phone Home, which I kind of wanted.
Yeah, the troll...
I liked that joke.
The troll memes that came out yesterday from the guy that played Ned and Tom Holland, I was like, whatever. Because it was Phone Home and Home Wrecker were the two.
Home Wrecker.
I think Zendaya posted the Home Wrecker.
Okay.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I was just like, oh, come on. But, yeah, what is it? Can't go home? Is that what it is?
No way home.
No way home.
Can't... Yeah.
Cannot go home.
Cannot find my way home.
So did you guys actually see the video or just the spoil?
Yeah, we saw... Well, I saw the video.
I didn't see the video.
Okay, so there was they go past... It's the cast coming out of the director... I think it was the director's office. Because they just got scolded for, trolling people, I guess.
Oh, that's what video Stoey sent me. Stoey sent me a video and I didn't watch it. But I saw that there was, a director... Okay, now I know.
And anyway, like, oh, they're not telling us the name, and it's like, why not? And they're like, are you serious? You know why they're not telling us? Talking to Tom Holland, he's like, oh, I won't spoil it. And then they walk past a whiteboard that says "No Way Home," with a bunch of other.
But around it, there's all these other names.
Oh.
And one was Home Alone, and then underneath of it said copyrighted or something.
The one that I thought was funny was Home Run.
Yeah.
Home Run.
or something like that. But yeah.
Yeah.
Spider-Man Homestar Runner.
So now, pure speculation is because of all of this. I don't know. This is just what I was thinking, but because of all of this alleged news of all these former Spider-Man characters being in it, I'm assuming, or at least this is just what I think, is that Tom Holland's Spider-Man is going to get sucked into the Spider-Verse, and he can't get back to his original universe, and that'll be the movie.
So it's live-action Spider-Verse.
Yeah, except from the perspective of Peter B. Parker, not the Spider-Man from the home universe.
Yeah. And that's where we're going to probably see the other Spider-Man. It's not that they're going to come to MCU world. It's that Tom Holland's going to probably go to theirs.
That's that's what I think, anyway.
I don't know. I hope we get all three of them on the same screen if they
at
are
the same time.
You probably will. Yeah, I would say that's probably going to be the third act.
That would
get
be
Tom Holland, Andrew Garfield, and Tobey Maguire all together.
Yeah.
For the climactic battle or whatever.
That'd be
against all of their former villains.
Wouldn't that be? What if they built a Sinister Six using different universes?
Oh my
villains?
god, that's what they're doing.
That would be amazing. Honestly.
That's what they're doing.
That's probably it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now you say that because that
somebody is bringing
no villain overlaps,
yeah.
Do they?
Nope.
Other than maybe Green Goblin.
They teased Doc Ock in the Amazing Spider-Man 2 at the end.
Yeah, they teased him.
But they never showed him.
Right.
So you could potentially take Goblin, not the Dane DeHaan Goblin.
No.
Yeah, you're right.
You could do Franco or Willem Dafoe, but I preferred Dafoe. And then
Franco, the toys for Franco was he was called New Goblin.
Yeah, New Goblin.
So he wasn't technically Green Goblin.
No. Goblin Jr.
The Hobgoblin. Isn't that what Dan DeHaan's one was?
Yeah, he was more the Hob.
Oh, was he more the Hob?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because Chris Cooper was Norman. So he would have been the Green Goblin had he been the Goblin.
Yeah.
I got Goblinitis. That movie. But
those movies are next, right?
So how would Michael Keaton fit in with the Morbius then? Because he's in that movie.
That's right.
As the Vulture too. So I mean, allegedly as the Vulture.
No, but that has he been confirmed to be in the new Spider-Man or not?
I haven't
Well,
heard anything.
I'm just saying, if we're speculating a Sinister Six, the Vulture is
He would have to. But
Oh,
that
yeah,
works
he would.
because you have a villain from this universe, and you still have Beck. Or no. Well, we don't know. Because Beck could still be alive. Maybe.
Well, that was something else I was going to bring up. If they are doing that, I mean, supposedly Alfred Molina was, signed on for this one. Like, he looks like he dies at the end of 2, but he could have survived.
Well, and it wouldn't even have to be that.
I think they're going to be pulled out of time.
Yeah. Like
Which
pulled out of their movie.
Which contradicts what he said, but... yeah, I don't know.
Maybe they'll all show up in the new WandaVision.
No.
Agatha's just gonna start pulling Spider-Man.
It'd be fun.
But it just has to be Raimi Spider-Man villains, like to build up to Doctor Strange too.
So that has to be how J. Jonah Jameson came into.
No,
the second one.
no,
he could be a Nexus point too.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, probably
Okay.
just a Nexus point is my guess.
That's a good
Wow.
point. Yeah.
But like he's a constant in time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't matter what universe, he's the same guy.
Right.
He just looks different.
Yeah.
Which is cool. I've always thought that like in real world, like space and time, that there are constants in every multiverse.
Yeah.
Like I might be completely different in one universe, or I might be the same in every universe. Like,
Yeah.
So I always like that little things like that when
Yeah,
they put them in movies where it's the same people.
That could just be explained that he's a Nexus point, which I think's fine, because really, J.K. Simmons is the only person that can ever play J. Jonah Jameson.
And we talked, and we will talk more about it
Yeah.
after this.
Right.
But he is the only person who could play that role.
Absolutely.
I think that's the reason why Mark Webb didn't cast anybody as J. Jonah Jameson in the Amazing Spider-Man. Yeah, because he just had Peter would get emails in that movie from Mr. Jameson.
Yeah.
But they never showed him, so it was like people were like, "Yeah, you can't recast him. There's no one on Earth who could ever play that role other than him."
That's so good. And with that being said, I guess let's just go into it because I got nothing else.
Yeah, that's
because we're gonna spend a long time, I assume,
probably
on this trilogy.
yes.
Well,
I for one will.
we can each do the description of one.
Yeah.
No, it's simple. It's Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So Aaron should do the second one since that's the movie he
That's
actually
technically,
recommended. So
yeah.
do you want to do the first or the third?
Yeah, I'll do the first.
Okay.
Which I don't know if I should lead with this, but this is going to be blasphemy, okay? If this video gets hits, it's going to be because they're pissed off at me. This is my least favorite of the trilogy.
Should we? Really?
Yes.
Huh.
And I'll get more into that, when we get there. But, so the first one sets up, it's his origin story. We see Uncle Ben die, and I mean, if you haven't seen
Spider-Man.
it's Spider-Man. I don't know where all to go.
It's been out for nearly 20 years. If you haven't watched it,
well, this is the 20th anniversary.
No, next year is.
Is it 2002? I thought it was 2001.
2002, 2004, 2007.
Okay.
So the one thing
I'm totally wrong with
that I will say is that this is the only Spider-Man movie that the Uncle Ben origin story is really justified.
Yeah,
The Amazing
And
Spider-Man
it's sad.
movie.
It's still sad.
Yeah. They obviously the Marvel Spider-Man with Tom Holland, they didn't do it.
Yeah, they
thank
didn't
God.
show it or whatever.
And the Amazing Spider-Man didn't really need to do it because it's the same thing with Batman. Everybody knows the origin story already, but this was one that was it was warranted because it was one of the first superhero movies, well, one of the most popular superhero movies too, and his origin story, people that go see it, normie audiences, they're not gonna know Spider-Man's origin story.
Yeah,
I thought you were going to say Normie Osborn. I was like, can we start referring to people who are new to Spider-Man as those?
Normie
Osborn.
Yeah.
That's great. So I guess that's not where we start with the movie. We start with Peter Parker trying to catch a bus. With all these movies, it starts with is it an inner monologue?
Yeah.
Essentially?
Yeah.
He knows he's talking to people.
He's telling his story.
Yeah.
Narration.
But he's trying to catch a bus. Showing off that he's that nerdy kid.
He's not really showing it off.
Well,
he's displaying his nerdiness.
Yeah. Well, okay.
He doesn't want to show that off.
I forget exactly the order. They go on the field trip
where they all look like 30-year-old.
The teacher looks no older than that.
No. Yeah. I said this to Shawn when we watched it. I said they all look like
they still are high school, right?
Yeah. I said they look like they're people in their 30s from their office who decided to cosplay as kids to go on this field trip as like an inside joke.
Yeah.
Like they're like, want to be hilarious. We like have our backpacks on and we dress like we're in high school, and everybody nobody's weirded out by it, but the audience is, because they clearly can tell that they're like 30 years old.
That's literally one of my things that was kind of jarring for this reverb. It doesn't bother
me too much.
I mean, I don't get like overly stressed about it, but I'm just like, wow, that's really obvious.
I feel like this is the only movie that really is hindered by that, because by the third or the second and the third one, they're college aged.
Yeah,
so it's like not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
At that point, you're just like, okay, I can completely overlook that.
Yeah,
and especially by the third one.
Yeah,
Peter's out of college, so it doesn't even matter. He's an adult now.
Yeah, he's just trying to make a living.
That's right.
So, as everybody knows, this is where he gets bit by the spider. I still love this scene. Like,
it's tense.
Yeah, just him getting bit by the spider. He's like, ow, what was that? And like, do we just assume that he actually saw the spider? Did he see it? I don't remember if he saw it.
Yeah, he did. Because after it bit him, it dropped and he watched it go under.
Like, I knew we saw it, but I didn't know if
I think it's
the
fair
character,
to assume that he saw it.
Because that's what he bases his colors on, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that wasn't just a coincidence.
And then he goes home and looks like death.
Yeah.
Looks like he's going to die.
Yeah, that scene was...
It was always a scary scene. Like,
yeah, it wasn't...
As a kid,
that's what I was going to say.
What the hell is happening to him?
It wasn't necessarily horror, but like... It kind of had that feel.
Yeah, because Raimi's background being horror, like, I feel like he took a lot of liberties, like, I can make this scary.
Yeah.
Like, let's do that.
Yeah. I mean, that'll be talked about more in the second movie. Yeah. But, so he goes to school the next day feeling amazing.
And jacked.
He just gained, like,
just
so much
muscle mass.
He gained, like, 15 pounds of muscle mass overnight.
One thing that bothered me while rewatching this, so, like, they're neighbors, and he obviously, has the crush on MJ, but she doesn't even seem to know who he is at the beginning.
No.
Yeah, that's good.
But then later on when they talk...
you've always been... Well, that's in the second movie.
Yeah.
I've always been standing in the door for you. It's like, bitch, you didn't even know who he was in the beginning of the first movie.
That's... I don't know, it bothers me. I don't know if that was on purpose or what, but...
Or then, like, there's the one thing when we were watching it, when her dad's yelling about, like, give me the damn beer! And he's, like, yelling. And then Peter's taking the garbage out, and she comes storming outside, and she's like, did you hear that? And I was like, the whole neighborhood heard that. I'm like, are you kidding me? I was like...
I feel like that's what he said.
But... It's like they heard it over in Soho.
Yeah. So, which she talks to him as if she knows who he is now. It was like,
Which, I mean, like...
He punched Flash across the hallway, so...
And then she still, like, hung out with it. Like, she still went and, like, hopped in his car and drove around, like, after he beat the crap out of him.
Yeah, so, I guess, moral of the story of that part is, you just gotta be an asshole to get a girlfriend, I guess.
Yeah.
Not that Peter wasn't justified in what he did, in my eyes, but,
Can we just mention how impressive the practical effects of him catching the lunch?
Oh, yeah,
because that was real.
Yeah, that was real.
Yeah. I don't know how they did that, but they did that.
Multiple takes until Toby could actually catch them all without them falling.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Well, first he had to hold Kirsten Dunst and catch all that fruit at the same time.
So Peter sees an ad in the paper, and he goes and
well, he wants to buy a car.
He wants to buy a car, yes.
Yeah.
Because Mary Jane goes off with Flash, as you said, in his new car, and so he wants to buy a car, and he sees this. Cars are about $3,000 for a used.
Like he's looking at like a convertible or something.
Yeah, it was, I guess, semi nice.
It looked like a decent car.
Yeah,
it looked like a decent starter car for him.
Yeah,
he could have got a Dodge Neon at that time or something.
Oh my god,
cruising around.
Yeah, put a cherry bomb on that.
Like he was looking at like a decent classic car.
Yeah, so he notices this ad for a wrestling company, and decides to go do that, and he makes like a very impromptu suit.
This is what I want, and this just popped into my mind. When they do a what if they start branching the Sony universe,
oh god, yeah,
I want a what if where Spider-Man has to defend his WWE title every week. That's what I want. That version of Spider-Man.
Yeah. I don't understand. Like, anyway, we'll get more into that when we go in. So he signs up for this wrestling thing, and the lady's like,
who's Octavia Spencer, by the way?
Who?
She's a very famous actress.
Oh, okay.
You'd know her if like I showed her.
Probably,
Showed her in.
I mean, I did kind of recognize. Like, I was like, I've seen that lady. But she's like, basically laughing him off. Like, you're too small. So, but he's like, yeah, sign me up. And so the most not wrestling thing happens during his entrance. Not Bruce Campbell getting his name wrong, but like these women are like,
like taunting him and
yeah, they're like cutting promos on him on the way down. Like, I've never seen that. Like, I don't know. I mean, they clearly have Randy Savage in this, and you would think they'd make it a little more authentic, unless they were going for like super comic booky, I guess, which might, write it off that way. But this is probably my favorite scene in this whole first movie, because I've grown up with wrestling my whole life, and it's just great. And Randy has more lines than I remember him having, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so cheesy.
It's so good, though.
Bonesaw.
Bonesaw is ready.
Bonesaw McGraw.
Is that his actual last name?
Bonesaw
Okay.
McGraw.
I didn't know if they actually said that, but my favorite of his line is, "I got you for 3 minutes."
3 minutes of playtime.
Yeah, they just spring the cage on Peter. He's
Yeah.
like,
Oh,
no
yeah.
idea.
Yeah. I didn't sign up for a cage match. Anyway, he ends up beating Randy in like, what, 2 minutes?
A minute.
2 minutes.
Or a
2
minute.
minutes. Yeah. It was 3 minutes for $3,000.
Yeah. He gave him like $200.
$100.
$100.
Yeah.
And yeah, so he's trying to get paid. Peter's mad that he couldn't get paid, and dude gets robbed. So he's like,
right after Peter walks out of the office, the next dude in puts the gun at the guy and tells him to give him.
He wasn't even out of the office yet, I don't think.
Yeah,
he was like going through. Yeah.
He walked out, and Dennis came in like right as he was walking out.
Yeah.
Because Peter had to like move so he could walk in.
Right. So yeah, this guy robs him, and the guy comes out. The promoter comes out, and he's like, "Hey, stop that guy!" And Peter's like, and lets him go by in the elevator.
There's a very good line there, because when the guy tells him, he says $100. He said the ad said 3,000. He goes, that was $3,000 for 3 minutes. You pinned him in 2.
Yeah.
So he's like, I need that money, and he says, well, I missed the part where that's my problem.
Right. Yeah.
So then when Dennis runs past Peter and gets in the elevator and says thanks to him for letting him through, and then the guy says, you could have torn him apart. Now he's gonna get away with my money. And Peter just looks at him and goes, I missed the part where that's my problem.
Yeah.
And like that guy, like he kind of like cracks a smirk, like, okay, like,
yeah.
I get it. I was an asshole to you, like, very well. Well played.
And actually, you know what? I just realized that's why he doesn't go back and defend his title.
Oh, yeah.
Because the promoter's like, screw that guy.
Yeah.
Even though I'm the asshole.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But, so this is, Peter goes outside and he goes back to the library, which I don't know how far away the library was.
I think it was right across the street.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay. And there's like a crowd of people, and Peter's wondering what's going on. So he kind of pushes his way through, and he realizes it's Uncle Ben there laying on the ground. Dying, yes. I don't know what else to say. The acting is great, and I mean, I didn't like cry or anything, but it's definitely
it's still sad every time you watch it. Like, it's still sad.
Yeah, he's just I mean, we're not gonna talk about the Andrew Garfield movies, but
never
way more emotional than like that was.
Yeah. I don't even remember the scene in the Andrew Garfield movies.
I barely do either.
I don't. I honestly don't. I remember him going home and telling Aunt May.
Yeah.
That's it. I don't remember anything else.
I don't even remember that. So anyway, Peter gets even more mad because he's already mad.
He's out for revenge against, because he knows that the car. Because whenever they are talking to Peter, he says, "What happened?" And they said, "Carjacker. He's been shot." So he goes looking for his uncle's car.
Yeah.
Because he hears like the police scanners or whatever saying where the car is and that they're in pursuit. So he starts using the spider powers to go after the vehicle, chases the guy down to the harbor, and then goes through like an old shipping port warehouse, and then he basically intimidates him out the window to where Dennis Carradine falls to his death.
Yeah.
Out the window.
I mean, Peter or Spider-Man, whatever. He didn't technically kill him. No. I don't know if he was gonna.
I mean, the guy tripped. He was backing up, and he tripped over the pipe and just went right out the window. He didn't kill him.
But I mean, on somebody's conscience, they would feel guilty about it.
Dude, Shawn is uncle. I wouldn't feel guilty about it.
I know.
Peter could have saved him too. I mean, Spider-Man, he could have.
That's true.
Yeah. He killed his uncle.
I mean, he has a spider sense, so he probably knew he was falling. So you're probably correct.
It's kind of funny to me though, because the cops in that scene are like, "Hey, stop!" And it's like, he just got that guy for you. He's dead, and there's the money.
Yeah.
Take the money back. Throw the body. Who cares?
I mean, from their point of view, they probably didn't see that he tripped.
Yeah.
It's frontier justice, Aaron. That's not good.
Yeah. Whatever works. It's New York. Are you kidding me? It's New York City. They're just gonna be like, whatever.
Yeah, I don't remember where it goes after that.
No, he goes home, tells Aunt May. Aunt May breaks down and cries.
There's no
that's
audio.
One nice thing is they don't actually have that conversation. He just comes home and then she's just crying.
Yeah, she probably got a call or something.
Yeah, because he comes in and he clearly says something to her, and then she hugs him, and then
there was audio. I didn't catch what they said. You can't really
make out what they say.
Faint.
You just hear Aunt May crying.
Yeah,
and then they have the funeral for Uncle Ben, and then
which Mary Jane's there for whatever reason.
For whatever reason. Hey, I gotta go to a funeral. My neighbor died.
Yeah.
That's basically what she went for.
Some kid in my class who's my neighbor, his uncle died.
I don't know. My mom said I had to go. I don't know.
I guess that could be it, because Aunt May's supposed to be friends with him, right?
Yeah, she's friends with
her mom.
MJ's mom.
Well,
anyway.
her dad yells as she's going out the door, "Get me more beer on your way home." I wonder what ever happened to her dad.
Who cares?
Yeah, who does care? Just imagine he just died alone.
Yeah.
The mom just divorced. The mom divorced him straight after MJ left high school and moved into the city.
Yeah.
And then he just died alone. Stooped over, drunk.
He's brought up in the second movie, so.
Yeah.
Oh, is he? Mm-hmm. I didn't.
And the third.
Completely over my head.
Yeah.
He's brought up briefly in the third. So I'm terrible at doing this, guys.
I mean, like,
well, we don't have to go scene by scene.
We don't have to go scene by scene. We're introduced to Harry. Well, we were introduced to Harry and Norman early on.
Oh yeah, Harry. Yeah.
At the thing, the class trip.
Very beginning, yeah.
And then Harry and Peter move in to the city because they graduate and now they are.
Yeah, they moved in.
Oh right, that happens
in college,
in this movie,
so they move in to the apartment in New York City, in the city.
That's right.
And Norman is renting it for them.
Yeah, he's paying for it. Yeah.
And he comes in to like make sure everything's on the up and up. Otherwise, they gotta pay.
Yeah.
Which is nice of him. And
Harry doesn't think so.
So Harry, actually no. We do have to back up a little bit. Norman is having an inspection done at Oscorp, and they are asking about the human performance enhancers, and he's confident that they're ready to go to human trials, but his lead doctor is telling him that they need to go back to formula.
Back to formula?
Yeah. So now the board is getting nervous. So Norman does the experiment on himself, and it has very adverse effects.
Very much so.
He kills the doctor that was in charge of it, and steals the glider and the flight suit.
The flight suit was from the other company, right?
No. He destroys that one.
Okay.
No, there is a second company because
that's the whole point.
Because the Goblin goes and destroys it because he finds out. So the board at this point.
But that suit was just a mech.
Yeah, it was just a mech. He flies in and just bombs the hell out of it.
Yeah.
So the rival company of theirs that is going to get the military contract is testing their mech, and they wanted the performance enhancers to be finalized. Otherwise, they were going to give the contract over to, it was like aerospace something or other.
Yeah.
And so the board got nervous, and they're like, well, we got to push Norman out because this is going to look weird.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they were also pushing him out because in the wake of the bombing of the aerospace. So basically, Norman becomes Green Goblin, blows up the mech of the rival company, and then kills the general and all of his, like,
yeah, pretty much everybody involved.
Kills everyone who was against him, basically.
Yeah.
And then the board pushes Norman out because they're like...
They want to absorb the rival company, and to do so... The string attached is that
they said
can't have conflicting,
but they didn't want Norman.
Yeah, they can't have Norman in.
So they push the guy who started the company out, and then
that's a great scene too.
And then they tell him, "You're out, Norman."
Yeah.
Willem Dafoe is so good as Norman Osborn / the Goblin because he's able to be Norman Osborn and then on a dime just flip into the Goblin because that's the whole point of the character is like he's being taken over by this secondary personality being this insane goblin enhanced creature. So he's like Norman when he's like, you can't push me out. I started this company. Do you know how much I sacrificed? And he's just like a villain at that point.
Yeah, like he just flips the switch immediately. And that's what makes him great as that character. And then after that, we go to the World Festival Parade.
Yeah.
Something like that.
And Macy Gray's
World Unity Festival. So
is that when Peter finds out that Harry is dating MJ?
Yes. Yeah, because Harry doesn't tell him.
Doesn't Mary Jane tell him?
Mary Jane does tell him because he runs into her on the street.
Yeah, and she's working at a burger joint or something.
Yeah, the diner. And then at the World Unity Festival, Norman shows up as the Goblin, and they think it's like part of the parade. And then he tosses this grenade that vaporizes people at the board members on the balcony, and it literally just vaporizes
one of which is in a wheelchair.
Which also, great line on his part, where he just shows up, and he knows they're all going to die, so he just lets them have it. He's like, out am I? And he just tosses the grenade.
Yeah.
At that moment, they're like, are you kidding?
Yeah.
Like, they knew it was Norman.
Yeah.
They all died, so who was going to tell?
Yeah. Which, if they heard it, you would think Harry would have heard it, or was he knocked out by that point?
Harry didn't know that he was being pushed. That Norman was being pushed out anyway.
Yeah.
Oh right.
Yeah,
okay.
because he asked if they had seen his dad, and the guy in the wheelchair is like, "Oh, I don't think he's coming today." Like he didn't want to flat out say, "We pushed your dad out." So
yeah, we fired him.
Yeah.
So technically, we don't know why you're here.
The effects on this scene, I mean, granted, they're 20 years ago.
Yeah.
They're a little dated, but they still look pretty good for the most part. Like, whenever the skeletons just, like, fall to the ground.
It's like Mars Attacks.
Yeah, kind of.
I actually kind of like that CG. Some of the Spider-Man.
Yeah.
When he's jumping buildings at the beginning.
Oh, yeah.
It's so bad looking.
Or he's just jumping across.
Yeah.
Top.
I mean, it doesn't take me out because I know the movie.
It's aged.
Yeah.
But it's, compared to today.
Yeah.
So we have...
This is our first encounter with Spider-Man versus the Goblin, Green Goblin.
So we have this whole back and forth between the Goblin and... It's cat and mouse with Goblin and Spider-Man for the rest of the movie, essentially.
Yeah.
Peter starts his job at the Daily Bugle as a freelance photographer, taking pictures of Spider-Man, which he gets creative by putting his cameras up in places where he can just snap pictures of himself.
How does he snap them, though?
I don't know, probably not a timer.
Yeah, probably a timer.
Okay.
So the one thing that I find funny, they do it in this movie and in the Amazing Spider-Man movies, and it's like, oh, you're Spider-Man's pal, you take his picture. It's like, that's not how photographs work.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Everybody's like, they're like, yeah, you know how to find him. And it's like, so what? I go out and find deer in my backyard and take pictures of them. Doesn't mean I hang out with them on the weekend and drink beer with them.
Like that's a plot point in the Amazing Spider-Man 2 where Harry's like, you know Spider-Man, I need his blood, take him to me. He's like, I just take pictures of him, dude. I don't fucking know him.
Yeah, why do you think that I like hang out with him? And I'm like, yeah, my buddy's dying of goblinitis. Like, can you help him out?
I think the reason behind that is nobody else is getting the pictures that Peter's getting.
Yeah.
So he's like his exclusive photographer.
They think that like Spider-Man picked him to like get these shots.
Also, the other like possibility is like Spider-Man threatened Peter, and he's like, "Hey, you take pictures of me, or I'm gonna kill the rest of your family." Like, why does everyone just assume he's his friend?
Right.
Like, he could just be sitting there like, okay, like taking pictures of him while he's like threatening to kill him.
Then it wouldn't be as clear.
And on the same side of that token, why would Spider-Man allow Peter Parker to continue taking his picture when he's selling into the Daily Bugle, who is just thrashing him in the media? Like, they're making Spider-Man look like a bad guy.
Yeah.
Why would Spider-Man want to be like, oh, I'm going to go to the Daily Bugle, kid? It's like, they're making me look bad. I don't want him taking my picture.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a very odd mindset that the rest of the characters have, where they're like, oh, you're his friend. And it's like, no.
Like that's the part... And Harry does it in the second movie of this franchise too, where he's like, "Oh, your spider pal." It's like, bro, I just take his fucking picture.
Yeah. No, and like Peter even like does that, where he's like, "I just take his pictures, Harry. Like, he's not my friend or anything like that." Yeah, and like Peter or like Harry in the we'll get to that. We'll get to that. So anyway, we play this game of cat and mouse between Norman and Peter the whole movie.
We're not going to talk about J. Jonah Jameson?
No, I'm going to get to that part. But Goblin basically tells him, join me. He's like, because they're going to get tired of you after a while. Like, it's just inevitable. Like, why do you continue to do this? Why do you put yourself through this much punishment when we could take over together? Mm-hmm. So at one point, Peter's getting his freelance photography stuff off the ground, and he gives a picture to Jonah, and he's on his way out of the office, and Jonah throws his cigar out the window, and it comes right back and lands on his desk, and the Goblin shows up, and Jonah does something very, very respectable.
Oh, yeah.
Where he asks where the photographer is who takes the pictures of Spider-Man, and Jonah says, I don't know who he is, his stuff comes through the mail. Meanwhile, Peter's laying on the floor right outside his office, and Jonah is not selling him out.
Yeah, That's one thing about J. Jonah Jameson. It's like he can be like the biggest bastard ever, but at least he has like ethics.
Yeah.
Like he's not gonna sell out his employees.
Yeah.
Like that's one thing.
And he's even just a freelance.
Yeah. It's like you have to really respect him at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did pick up on that line this watch through, and I was like, wow, that's a pretty big deal.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm like, he is literally on the ground right there.
Yeah.
Like, but
this is maybe one of my favorite Green Goblin quotes. Sleep.
Oh yeah, with the gas coming out of the arm. Like,
I don't know why I fought pretty hard for that one. I was like,
yeah. So then Goblin and Norman and the Goblin have their back and forth in the mirror, which is awesome visuals. Like that's still something that really.
When Goblin's talking, you don't see Norman talking.
No. And, like, you always, like, when he turns around and, like, it's Norman, like, there's just complete... And then he'll, like, be looking, like, at the paper. He's looking at the paper, and then he says, you killed them. And then he just turns around and he's like, we killed them. Like, he just flips that switch immediately. Like, and that's amazing for him to do that.
Yeah, he's probably the best part. Like, even better than Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man in this one.
Easily. Goblin makes this movie.
Yeah.
And then we, of course, have our big climactic battle after Peter finds out that Goblin knows who he is because he attacks Aunt May, and then kidnaps Mary Jane, and they have this big battle on the bridge that ends like in another like harbor warehouse type of thing, where each of their masks are like destroyed and they reveal their identities to each other. And Norman knew that Peter was Spider-Man already, but
from the lunch that they had, Peter was bleeding.
Oh yeah. I just skipped over Thanksgiving.
Well, yeah,
and all that.
But then this is whenever Peter realizes that Norman is the Green Goblin.
Yeah, and then he's like trying to explain it's the Goblin, it's not me. Like, basically, some part of me believes that that's actually Norman, like being like, listen, like I'm not in control.
Yeah.
Like, please help me. Like,
I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. Like, it's very possible.
Like I said,
but then he's just like, he's like getting the glider.
Time, like he's calling the glider back, and then he's like, because he says to him like, he's like, let me be a father to you and all that, and he's like, I had a father, his name was Ben Parker, and he's like, Godspeed, Spider-Man. Like, hits the button and comes back through and just glider through the stomach, both blades, and then
I feel like he could have survived that.
Yeah,
because it like went through like
it was abdomen, right?
Yeah.
It didn't like cut him in half or anything.
He probably could have, but maybe they were like poisoned or something. Like had some
could be.
Kind of, like, poison.
Yeah, they could
them.
be. I don't know.
Yeah. But
or that might have been.
There's a line like, and I picked it up this time around that I never really like realized how many times it's repeated through the movie. Don't tell Harry.
Oh.
Like no, don't tell Harry, and then MJ's like, and Peter's like, no, I won't tell Harry, and then the last line of Norman's is don't tell Harry.
Spider-Man 1, don't tell Harry.
Don't tell Harry. Yeah. And then we end on a funeral.
Yeah.
Where
we see the scene in this one where he takes Norman back to the apartment, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's where Harry sees.
What? And this brings up a good point. Why is MJ so surprised in the second movie? She realized it at the end of the first movie that he was Spider-Man. Because he says the same thing to her that he said to her in the alleyway.
Yeah.
Because that's like...
What does...
I forget what the exact line is, but he says something to her at the funeral that she turns around and she like goes like this as she's watching him walk. Like, she realizes that he's Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So why in the second movie is she so surprised? Like when
I think that she
just
kind of always knew because she says that.
She does say that, but like it's very apparent at the end of the first movie because you're like, oh, she just found out that Peter's Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And then in the second movie, it's like, no, that never happened.
You're not just gonna believe somebody you knew your entire life is Spider-Man. You know,
that's true.
I mean, you knew that person your entire life, but Spider-Man just showed up like 6 weeks ago. So.
I don't know.
She just realized
I can forgive it.
He existed 6 weeks ago too.
No, but I can forgive it. I just yeah. She's just now realizing he's a human being.
Yeah.
But like I can forgive it, but at the same time, like I thought about that, and I'm like, that's the moment where she realizes that Peter's Spider-Man. I'm like, so why is it such a big deal when it's in the second movie?
I guess I always wrote it off like Shawn said. She said, "Well, I guess I always knew."
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, she knew at at Willem Dafoe's funeral. That's where she knew. Oh, and then Harry's like, has his whole like, I swear on my father's grave, Spider-Man will pay.
Yeah.
Like, that's where his whole turning point is for his character, which is very well displayed the rest of the trilogy.
Yeah, I think he's probably one of the best characters as well.
Yeah.
See, I think he's awful in the second movie.
His character is awful. I don't think his acting is awful.
I mean...
I think he's underutilized in the second movie, but not underutilized, because I wanted him as a secondary villain, and I didn't want him to take over too much. And I think it works well in the second one. Because he's not at the forefront. Octavius is the forefront villain. Harry is still a villain, but he's in the background. And he's going to get his moment. They're just not, like, putting him in the forefront, being like, we need... That's what screws up the third movie.
Harry basically becomes his father.
Yeah. Yeah, he takes over the family business, and except doesn't turn into a goblin yet. And go on a killing spree and all that.
Yeah.
Which he doesn't really go on a killing spree
at
all. Even when he's the goblin, he doesn't really, like... He's only out for one thing.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like,
straight up revenge on Spider-Man.
He's not out to, like, a hostile takeover of another business or anything like that. Like, he's just out for his revenge against Spider-Man in the third one. Well, he's out for his revenge in the second one, too, but...
Yeah.
So, anyway, that was the first Spider-Man.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really have anything else to say about the first
one. Nothing much. Are we rating them after each one or all at the end?
Probably all at the end, I would imagine.
Okay.
Yeah.
So on to...
Spider-Man 2.
Spider-Man 2.
My personal favorite.
Yeah. That's
which was the original recommendation.
Even though you already pretty much did the whole first one, now it's your turn.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm just gonna go short and sweet with this one.
Yeah, that's fine.
I feel like everyone.
I started going way too deep in the first one.
Everyone's seen these. Everyone's seen the movies. So we're in Spider-Man 2 now. Peter's in college. He is failing at just about everything that he's trying to do, but he's trying his best. We see him lose his job at the beginning of the movie. He's still after Mary Jane, who somewhat notices him, but is also not dating him because she's dating an astronaut who turns out to be J. Jonah Jameson's son. Harry is still out for his revenge against Spider-Man. He is constantly asking Peter, Peter and Harry's relationship is so weird in this because they were best friends in the first one and everything. And, like, Harry comes and, like, hangs out at Peter's house or at Aunt May's house for Peter's birthday, and he's like, yeah, and he's like, so where's the bug? Like, he just, like, turns that switch, and he's like, do we have to do this? Like,
right now.
I'm not him.
That's like every conversation that Harry and Peter have this, like, in this movie. It
just goes right to
it. Harry. It's like, not tonight. And he's like, no, every night.
Yeah.
Until I find Spider-Man.
Yeah. And that's their second interaction of the movie where Harry just gets wasted at the gala, and like because he's like, leave the bottle, and like drinks like half the bottle, and then he confronts Peter, like he just like pushes him and he like he's like slapping him around and shit. So Peter gets the opportunity of a lifetime to meet Dr. Otto Octavius, who's working on a fusion experiment.
Which might be the nicest thing Harry does in this whole movie.
Which is funded by Oscorp, so that's how he gets the in with Dr. Octavius.
And Harry's kind of a prick about it. He's like, well, we keep the lights on, Otto.
Nobel Prize, Otto.
Nobel Prize.
Yeah, and then whenever, after the failure of the fusion reactor, he's like, he was supposed to bring me to the top with him. It's like...
I'm ruined.
Yeah, I've nothing left.
But Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
I have nothing but Spider-Man.
So, Otto is building a fusion reactor, and he... you can't... Human hands can't enter a fusion reaction to, contain it or anything, so he develops these 4 mechanical arms that hook onto an apparatus that he controls with his mind to keep the containment...
Not just an apparatus. I mean, that shit goes into his spine.
Oh, yeah. Because it has to, it has to come from his spinal cord because it has to control it like your arms and legs.
Right, yeah.
Which is really cool, to be honest.
Yeah. It is visually cool.
It is. It is really amazing. Yeah. And the reaction fails. It causes a huge flare-up, and it destroys, half the building. Spider-Man shows up and pulls the plug. The reaction it implodes and shuts down, but not before it destroys the inhibitor chip that's on the arms.
Yeah, he turns around to react to the glass breaks because it's pulling all the metal.
Yeah, all the metal.
And the glass
kills his wife.
Just slices. I mean, we don't see it, but I mean it
kills Rosie.
Yeah.
It's implied that it cuts her head off.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't cut her head off.
I don't know.
No, because they do show her face, and she has cuts all over her face.
Yeah, that's true. They put the blanket over her face.
They
instead of a body
that.
bag.
Yeah, it's just a blanket.
It's literally like a cotton blanket they put over her.
Yeah,
I never noticed that.
So Otto gets taken to the hospital, and this is where we get into a lot of the horror.
Yeah, this is.
Oh my god!
The horror. I think that.
And that might be why this movie is my favorite out of the 3.
It's hard for me to decide if I like Doc Ock better as a villain than the Green Goblin, because Willem Dafoe and Alfred Molina are like the perfect castings for both of these.
They really
it's just
Doc Ock.
I don't know.
It's Doc Ock.
Their motivations are also just so perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, the Goblin's just an insane person, and Otto is just so consumed by his drive for science, I guess. But he was forsaking his science for the betterment of humanity because of the AI. He just completely abandoned that. He's like, well, I'm gonna finish what I started, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, it was partially I think it was the arms taking what he
definitely
wanted most, which was to build that.
The power of the sun in my hands.
The palm of his hand.
He's so good.
So he's in the hospital, and they have to take off the harness and all that, and then cut off. Well, they have to cut off the arms first, then they have to slice up the harness, and they have to figure out how they're going to repair his spinal column because
it fused together.
It fused all through,
right.
where the needles went in, it fused into his spinal column.
Mm-hmm.
So they're like, okay, well, this is going to be a mess. So let's get in there and find out.
I don't even think he could do anything with it, to be honest.
No, I mean,
they'd have to refracture it probably, and then
they'd have to break all of them, take out the things, and then let them reheal.
Oh my god!
So he'd basically be in a body cast for 10 to 12 weeks or something like that.
Yeah.
And then he'd have to learn to walk again. So he's better off. So he's not awake for the procedure, but the arms are, and they kill all the doctors and the surgeons in the hospital room, and then they break out, and he goes to the harbor area, in the warehouse, where he has kind of a depressive inner. Well,
he says he's these things should be at the bottom of the river with me with it, and he's gonna kill himself.
Yeah.
And then the arms talk him out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they give him the motive to do whatever's necessary to
rebuild
finish the project.
But during this, we have the conflict of Peter losing his powers because of his stress.
Oh yeah, he gets erectile dysfunction.
His stress and
his spider erectile dysfunction.
Mary Jane not his unrequited love. It's a complicated situation. He can't tell him that, or he can't tell her that he's Spider-Man, but he loves her. That's all at the end of the movie. But yeah, and then that is the catalyst to him losing his powers.
There's a funny scene, and I think it's around this time, is when they're hanging out because he actually goes to see her show because he gives up being Spider-Man.
Right.
This is the famous Spider-Man No More, where he walks away. That is a great visual too, because that is straight off the comic book cover of Tobey walking away with the Spider-Man suit hanging out of the garbage can.
Yeah.
So he's Spider-Man No More. He goes to the show. He and MJ are hanging out. They're having a good time and everything. And he asks her if she wants to get chow mein, and she just responds with, "I'm getting married." And I just think about that scene, and I'm like, he was literally asking if you wanted to go eat food. Like, yeah. Why did you just, like, snap back with that? Like, I cannot. I'm getting married. It's like, you can't eat food? Like, what is wrong with you?
They both know what was going on.
Yes, but at the same time, she didn't have to, like, clap back with that, you know?
Yeah.
But that always, like, I always laughed at that, because I'm like, he literally just asked.
I thought that too. It's like, I just wanted to have dinner.
Yeah, like, holy shit.
You can have dinner with your friend, even though you're getting married.
Yeah.
But they both knew what was going
on.
What he actually meant.
Yeah. And, so Doc Ock, in the meantime, is stealing money so that he can buy all the...
I love that when he's like, I'm going to need money, and it's like, steal it. No, I'm not a criminal. He's like... And, like, the arms are, like,
it comes around, and it's like...
And he's like, yes, the real crime would be me not being able to finish what I started.
Yeah.
Oh, and this is such an obvious... Like, this is a great example of how campy these movies are, because Aunt May and Peter are at the bank getting a loan. With Joel McHale. They're just like, they just so happen to be at the bank.
At the bank that Doc Ock's robbing.
He shows up
with a fedora and a trench coat.
And he throws it off. And he rips the safe open, and it's just a bunch of bags with dollar signs on them. With gold coins inside.
That's right.
Like, it's just like...
I never thought of that.
It's just, like, so campy. And that's, like, one thing that these movies, like, especially the first and the second movie are, they're just pure camp. And it's, like, that's why they're good.
Yeah.
And they know that. Like, they're not trying to take themselves too seriously. Like, he's literally throwing... bags of gold coins at Peter and shit. And Spider-Man. It's just like...
Oh, and Aunt May's constantly beating the shit out of Joel McHale.
Yeah.
like she kicks him from under the table, like when he says something like, "Oh, I don't think that we can do this," and she just like kicks him, and he's like, "Ow!"
I thought that she was trying to kick Peter.
I thought she was too, but she clearly kicked in front of her, not to the side of her. And then it became apparent that it was on purpose, because Joel McHale like goes to pick up one of those coins and she slaps it out of his hand.
As if he's going to steal from his own bank.
Yeah, as if he's going to take the money from his own bank.
I mean, it definitely looked like that, but I don't know if he was actually going to steal it.
That's one thing I like about this movie in particular.
Gets taken. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that the action scenes with Spider-Man and Doc Ock. Well, I guess the second one is with Peter and Doc Ock, but they just happen at the drop of a hat. Like, Doc Ock rips open the safe, or Peter's having lunch with MJ, and a car comes flying through the cafe window. They just, like, happen so abruptly.
Yeah. So Aunt May gets taken by Doc Ock after the bank robbery, and Peter has to save her as Spider-Man. And this is where we have the famous train scene.
No.
Yeah, it is.
No, is it?
Yeah, because they have the fight on top of the clock tower because Aunt May is up there, and maybe it's not the same scene, but it's shortly after.
I think
he takes her up to the clock tower. That's where she hits him in the face with her umbrella, knocks the glasses off. Then they have the fight.
And Doc Ock goes
tower.
away.
Yeah. No, that's not the same scene, because directly after the train sequence, Peter's captured.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
So there are two sequences where they fight on a clock tower?
Yeah, because Aunt May hits him with the umbrella. And that's when Doc Ock like goes away. He throws her down.
Oh,
and
that's
Peter's
right.
gonna catch her. Right. And then Doc like goes around the
Butterfingers. Yeah, and then they have their fight later.
That's my favorite Doc Ock line.
He lures Peter out. He takes Mary Jane.
That's the car scene.
Him out. Yeah.
Tell your friend Spider-Man.
Yeah, and
meet me at wherever at 3 o'clock or she dies.
That's right. And he's like, he's really like intimidating Peter. Like he was very cool with Peter. He was and then he's like, hey, fuckface. Like,
well, that's clearly the
I need my tritium.
The arms taking over. But
yeah.
I was just thinking of something. In every movie, Peter being a photographer is essential to the plot.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, you don't see that with other, like, oh, the main character's day job is literally, like, the driving force of the climax of all 3 of these movies.
That's true.
That's right.
That's true.
Wow.
Because Harry's like, well, Doc Ock confronts Harry. He's like, I need more tritium.
Oh, that's a good scene, too.
Yeah, and he's like, I'll make a deal with you. Bring me Spider-Man and you can have all the tritium you need.
How do I find him?
Yeah, Parker, and he tells him, he takes pictures
Parker?
of the bugle. Yeah.
Yeah.
That also, like, that's a good scene because, like, Harry pours himself a drink.
And Doc takes it.
And he's walking out because he, like, hears something. And, like, half the building's, like, shaking because you hear Doc Ock, like, coming up the building. And then he just shows up and, like, pushes Harry back with one of the arms and catches his scotch glass.
Yeah.
And, like, brings it over to him. And, like, he takes a sip out of it and then just, like, throws it. And then he's, like, intimidates Harry into giving him the tritium and tells him to bring him Spider-Man and all that.
Which is funny because whenever they're having their first experiment, he's like, there's only 25 pounds of this on the planet.
And
then there's, like, a ball the size of a fist.
Yeah.
He's like, how do you have
probably weighs nothing then because...
And Harry just has it in his study. It's not locked under lock and key at Oscorp.
It was locked.
It's literally... But it's not like at Oscorp. It's literally just like in his study.
Just in his house. Yeah.
At his
Makes
house.
no sense.
Yeah.
He's like, have it ready.
That's very true.
Oh, that's
why it's in there.
That's why he brought it.
Yeah, have it ready. That's why it's there.
Even still, it's just like, why is it so much?
That probably wasn't even 25 pounds of it.
No, probably not.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, it must weigh nothing, so that is essentially not a lot.
Yeah. But
I assume.
I just thought that was funny, where he's just like, oh, you just have this block of tritium to get the hand off the Doc Ock.
Wonderful block of tritium.
So the car scene.
The car scene leads to the train scene.
Yeah, which motivates Peter.
Peter gets his powers back.
Yeah,
after the car
he gets
scene.
the blue pill.
Yeah, he gets his blue pill back. And
I think he has a reason to be Spider-Man.
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
And then he goes up. They have their fight on the clock tower at 3 o'clock on the clock tower, and then they both take their fight down onto the top of a train. And Doc Ock starts throwing people out of the train that Spider-Man has to save, and then he destroys the controls and tells Spider-Man he's got a train to catch. So it's literally like the most superhero moment of all the Spider-Man movies, where he has to stop.
I mean, they've redone
train.
it how many times now?
Yeah.
Like, they did it in Homecoming, and I think they did it in one of the Amazing Spider-Man movies too. I mean, it's like at that. I don't know if this was like the first instance.
What was
it.
the Amazing Spider-Man version?
I don't know if there was.
I think it was probably.
Was it the crane?
Yeah, the cranes.
Yeah. Where he was injured and they had to like line up all the cranes so he could shoot the web across and go. And then he loses his mask trying to stop the train.
Well, he just takes it off.
Yeah,
because it's burnt.
Yeah, it's half burnt, so he takes it off, and Doc Ock flees, or so we think, and Peter has to stop the train. Stops the train by shooting like multiple webs on buildings and is holding it from going off the rails. Where was that train gonna go?
I'm sure it's just like natural, like the L.
It stopped.
Like it would have, like, because it was the last stop. It probably just went to the end and then would come back.
Yeah, it would have just turned
went
the other way.
Because I was like, where the hell was that train going? Like, that it was just gonna like go and then just
because they blew past like the last.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, they went past
whatever
the last
terminal or whatever.
So he stops the train, passes out because he just had to use superhuman strength to stop that train.
I mean, it really shows like how
he
strong
like half rips the suit apart.
Yeah, because
not
he's
only
making
that, but the front of
the whole front of the
like
train caves in because he's just holding on to it.
Yeah.
And then all the people like carry him back to the middle of like.
I love that scene because he just passes.
Oh yeah,
the hell
he's
out.
just out.
And somebody's hand just like grabs him.
Yeah,
and
they all
everybody
grab
else
him and like bring him in, and then the kids bring him the mask. And
it's a great visual to show that like the city's
Carefully,
behind
he's a
him.
hero.
Yeah, carefully, he's a hero. And then all the people like are like, "Hey, we're not gonna tell anybody. Like your secret's safe with that." Like, because they're realizing they're like, "Oh my god, like he's just a normal kid."
Yeah.
Like, and I think they came to that realization where they're like, "Damn, he's got a lot like weighing on him.
Right.
Like he's got a lot to worry about." And they put the mask back on him, and then Doc Ock shows up after the mask is on. Because he could have been like, "Oh, that's Peter Parker," you know?
Oh yeah, right.
but they put the mask on, and then Doc Ock shows up, and then everybody does their whole like, "Well, if you want to get to him, you gotta go through."
Gotta
us.
go through me.
And then he's just like, "Okay," and just like pushes them all like half out the window, and then knocks out Peter, and then takes him to Harry. Every time
I think this is Harry's best scene in the movie. Like the other shit, he's like the worst character ever. But whenever he's like, finally, I'm gonna get revenge, and he rips off Peter's mask, and he's like, drops a knife and stumbles back. He's like, my best friend Spider-Man.
Yeah, and he's like,
not computing.
Oh yeah, and he isn't like that whole time. Like Peter's like, we gotta stop him, and he's like catatonic.
Yeah.
And he's like, what? And then he's like, Harry,
you killed my father.
Yeah, and he's like, you killed my... And like he could have explained that away right then and there, but he didn't. He's just like,
I mean,
there are bigger things
he has
happening.
all the opportunities to explain it to Harry, but there are
doesn't.
bigger things than me and you right now.
Yeah,
he has MJ,
and he obviously tells him where he went. Like, so he goes to save MJ.
This doesn't change anything.
It doesn't change anything.
Oh yeah, is Spider-Man saving him?
Yeah, he saved. Yeah, he humiliated me by touching me.
Oh, well, doesn't he say that?
He says that at the beginning when the fusion reaction.
I thought he said that.
No, yeah, he does it when he saves him.
And then he goes down to the harbor, and the fusion reaction is becoming unstable once again because partly Spider-Man's fault because he starts like fighting with Doc Ock, and Doc Ock can't contain it because they're fighting, so it's growing bigger and bigger, and then he pulls the plug, and it is no longer able to be stopped by pulling the plug.
Well,
it's
he
its own
electrocutes
self-sustaining
him too.
thing. Yeah,
he severs a vital connection in the process too.
And now it's like self-sustaining, so it's its own like sun at this point.
Yeah.
And it's creating a magnetic and gravitational field that's pulling like cars out of the city, like, and they're
that's
slowly,
a great
like,
shot,
being
by the
pulled
way.
in. Yeah,
like that's a great practical effect of all the cars just like sliding. I have no idea how they did that.
Yeah,
they must be using tritium in the new Fast and the Furious movies.
That's right. So all the like you could see like in the city, like there are things that are being pulled in from that reaction core, and the arms are starting to fail because he pushed Doc Ock into the water. So they're starting to like. You would think that like he would have some kind of like waterproofing that he would have done on those.
Yeah, I
or
wouldn't
something.
think that.
But
Water.
now
I mean, they can
like,
they can stand the heat of the sun. You'd think they'd be able to take a little bit of water.
I mean, and they do. Like they do. They're just like they're kind of malfunctioning, and like he's like kind of like coming out of the trance, and then Peter's like he's like Dr. Octavius. He's like we got to stop it, and like that's where his character turns back to redemption, where he's like we can drown it. And he tells Peter we can drown it, and he goes to go do it, and the arm grabs him, and he's like, I'll do it. And like he gets up and goes and pulls the whole thing down under, and
I will not die a monster.
I like his line when he's trying to get control back with the arms. And he's like, listen to me now. You know, the way he says it. Like, that line sticks in my head.
Yeah, because then they back down. Like, they're trying, because he says, like, he's like, drown it. And then the arms, like, they have such cool, like, they almost sound like Ebera from Godzilla versus the Sea Monster. They have that kind of, like, screech, like that metallic screech.
Right,
because, like, he says drown him.
Yeah,
and then it goes, like, and, like, hisses at him, and he's like, listen to me. Like,
Listen to me now.
And then he goes and drowns that. He saves MJ, and then MJ knows that he's Spider-Man. Obviously now. And then he goes to...
And she's a bitch because she leaves her husband to be at the altar.
Yeah. Yeah, she leaves J. Jonah Jameson's son at the altar.
Yeah, poor JJ.
That's a great line. Where they're sitting there, and JJ's like watching, and then the the maid of honor comes running up and like hands the note to him, and he's like, call Deborah. And his wife goes, the caterer? And he goes, tell her not to open the caviar. And there are some great lines of the wedding planning between Jonah and his wife, because like she says something in the Elizabeth Banks' character, what's her name?
Betty Brant.
She's like, your wife wants to know if you want days or whatever or something. He's like, how much are those? And he goes, she spends any more money on this, she can pick the daisies off my grave. And then there's one line that cracks me up every single time. And she goes, boss, your wife's on line 1. She wants to tell you she lost the checkbook. And he goes, thanks for the good news. We
gotta talk about him.
Oh my god, yeah.
Like as a whole later, I think.
But, especially after the third movie.
Yeah.
I think we'd be remiss not to talk about the effects of the claws. Like they're so good.
Oh yeah. Just everything in this whole movie.
There's a couple of fights like between Peter and Doc Ock where it's like PS2 graphics, like CGI, like they're full CGI,
full body, like.
But like even that's like admissible because the practical effects.
Like it looks
so
way
good.
better than the first one.
Yeah.
Like,
no, and all of those arms, like 90% of the shots, they're practical, like puppetry effect. Like they have. I watched over and over. I watched the behind the scenes of this movie when I was younger. And they show, like, they had, like, teams of puppeteers that had, like, these arms, like, on, like, sticks.
Yeah.
They held them on, and they'd have to move them around like snakes, like, to make them look like they were organic. And, like, they had some guy... So they would, like, maneuver them around, and they'd have another guy on the animatronic board that would, like, open them up. And, like, the mandibles would flex, like, they'd have flexion, and, like... pieces would go back and all that. I mean, it's amazing, like, what they would do with those.
I'm sure that's probably part of my Blu-ray.
Oh, probably.
So I should probably watch that.
Like, I just want to say this is... I'm just going to say right now, this is my favorite.
Yeah.
Out of the 3.
I mean, yeah, out of 3.
I love Doc Ock. I love this entire movie as a whole. There's so much story to it. And... it's not, like, it's a long movie, but it doesn't feel like a long movie. Like, it feels, everything is structured properly and takes...
Is this the longest out of the 3? Do we know?
I think that the third one's longer.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense, I guess.
But this takes its time with everything and doesn't rush anything. And I think that's why it's damn near perfect. Mm-hmm. Is because it does everything right.
Yeah. There's nothing I would change in this movie.
No, there really is nothing that I would change in this movie.
It's great.
I mean, I don't know how much you have more to tell, but I was interested in your revisit because you had said that you really only ever saw this like once.
Yeah, I really haven't even watched it in full before this.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, this is like really the first time I've sat down and watched it end to end.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just
This is probably one I've watched the most. No, I take that back. I probably watched 1 the most. This is 1 the second most.
I've seen 3 the most. I saw it like
I've seen 3
6 times in theaters.
Yeah, I watched this in theaters once, and I watched 3 in theaters once.
I didn't even see this in theaters.
Yeah, I don't think I saw the first one in theaters.
I remember you and Josh were talking about that you guys had seen it, the first one in theaters, and that was the one that I didn't see in theaters. I watched it after it was released, and then...
I don't even think I saw 2 in the theater.
I saw 2. My dad and I saw 2 in the theater, and then I went with my buddy Luke.
It's real weird how, not to go into the backstory of me, but like, it's weird how I've become such a movie fan and I love to go to the theater. I didn't do it as a kid. Like, there was very few and far between times that I went when I was younger. It wasn't until about Dark Knight time, 2008, because I saw that like 12 times or some crazy number in the theater. So it's real weird. Like, I think I went for Spider-Man 3, which was right before, it was like a year before Dark Knight. So
I think the movie that I've seen the most in theaters was The Last Jedi.
yeah,
I saw that 5 or 6 times. I can't remember.
Yeah, nothing's gonna ever beat The Dark Knight. I don't have an exact number, but it was over 10 times that I saw it.
It's amazing.
I saw Guardians of the Galaxy most times in theaters.
Yeah.
I saw that like 7 times.
Wow.
I don't think I've ever liked a movie that much to watch it like over like when The Last Jedi came out and I saw it like 5 or 6 times. I was like, okay, that's enough. I was like, I don't have to watch that for another 3 years.
Yeah, I don't know what it was about The Dark Knight. I was just such a Batman fan at the time. My second most watched was Captain America, the first Avenger.
I saw that twice.
I think I saw it like five times or so. Anyway, on to...
Yeah, let's move on to the best one.
Yeah. Spider-Man 3. So Spider-Man 2 was 2 years after the events of the first movie. I don't remember how long it is after this one is after the events of the second.
Is it in real time?
I think it's in real time, so it's 3 years.
Okay, so 3 years after the events of Spider-Man 2. Peter and MJ are still slowly dating, and the arrival of a alien organism into New York City attaches
via meteorite.
Yeah, via meteorite attaches itself to Peter's
moped.
Peter's moped, and subsequently Peter, and the symbiote attaches itself to Peter. At the same time, an escapee is subject to an unsanctioned test. I don't even know what happens to him. They're just like a bunch of sand. Basically,
they're like
deconstruction. Deconstructs his DNA, and then he
fuses it with the sand.
Yeah, reforms into the sand,
which is a cool visual.
So not to already stop you and talk about that scene. I was drawn. I don't know what the right word is. I was really surprised at the lack of care that those scientists.
Oh yeah, they're like, oh yeah, it's a bird.
It must be a bird.
Yeah, and they're like, maybe we should build a dome over this.
They were talking about.
Maybe we shouldn't have it out in the middle of a field where somebody can fall into.
They were talking.
And it literally just falls into it.
Yeah.
Like it's unnoticeable till you just fall right in.
Yeah, they were talking about the mass of something. The mass has changed. Well, clearly the mass of a person is going to be bigger than a bird.
Yeah.
What? It's a flock of birds.
That's clear.
Yeah.
I think that's what they might have said. Oh, probably just a bunch of birds. They'll fly away when they light it up. And then it
still, like...
Yeah, they should have investigated.
They have windows literally right beside them that is you can see from inside the pit.
Yeah, why wouldn't they just been like, no, that's a dude. Shut it off.
Yeah, there's a guy in there. What the hell?
Turn it off, please.
That was before it was even running.
Turn it off, Otto! Could you imagine, like, he just, like, looks in the window and there's just some guy and he's like... I don't know, man. Sorry.
Yeah, but that's pretty cool visuals where, like, the sand is, like, going...
Oh, it's great, yeah.
Like, breaking pieces of his DNA.
Yeah, it's a great scene. That's what my brain thought of. Was like, there's windows right there that these shields are coming down on, but...
And then, like, when the cops show up, like, with the dogs and everything around that, like... There's probably a lot of radiation there. Maybe you shouldn't be standing right next to that giant spinning fusion coil or something. You know?
Yeah, I don't think they ever really explain what that is.
No.
Like there's no time in this movie. Like, because they jam-pack so much shit in. They jam-pack Sandman in, they jam-pack Venom in, and then they have to jam-pack...
They really jam-pack Venom in.
Yeah.
Because Harry, you expect Harry.
Yeah, because he's the first occurrence.
Yes.
Like, because...
right, yeah.
Well, it's interesting because
Peter... we left that out of the second one. Harry discovers his dad's lair.
Oh, right.
He becomes the new Goblin. And so Spider-Man erases Harry's memory by clotheslining him.
Well, he didn't do
off
that.
A metal pipe. And then he hits his head on the
though.
dumpster. after he hits the metal pipe.
So Harry has amnesia for a major portion of the movie.
Pretty much all.
Yeah. So if anything, they jam pack in the new Goblin because he gets it back in like the third act, and then
teams up with him.
Yeah. Well, Peter confronts him.
Yeah.
Well, I guess. Well, yeah.
So I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. I think that a movie is only as good as its villain, or like really. The villain in the first and the second movie, they're nearly flawless, and then this is like, here you go, and it's just like kind of a bunch of crap.
This was
I really
the
like
first
Sandman.
Instance of studio interference.
Yeah.
Where Sam Raimi was told no Venom, and he's like, it makes no sense, and they're like, no. Do this.
Why do they want Venom so bad?
No, I'm sorry. It wasn't Venom. I think it was Sandman.
I think it was Venom. He wanted to do Sandman.
Yeah, no, it was Venom.
And they made him do Venom.
No,
because Venom is
the symbiote works.
I don't even...
After we go through this movie, I want to circle back because this is not as bad as I remember it. It's not as bad as I think it could have been. In my opinion, I think The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is still worse.
Yeah, it is. Certainly.
Yeah.
I think that...
This is still forgivable.
I think that Venom works in the movie, even. People have a huge problem with him. If anything, I would want the removal of the new Goblin. I feel like that would tighten up the movie more. But you need Harry in there because he's been established in the first two movies.
Yeah.
And that's hinted at the end of the second movie.
I don't even think that's in the way, him being the new Goblin.
See,
because they team up at the end.
Well, that's the thing about it is Sandman works and Harry work. Venom still works, but the reason why people say that Venom, this is my thinking of it, is the reason why they say Venom was shoehorned in is because Flint's tied to Uncle Ben's death.
Right.
Harry has been established from the beginning. Those are two forces that we need reconciliation.
And then Eddie Brock's fifis were hurt because Peter doctored his photos or whatever.
Broke his camera.
Yeah, I don't know why he's so pissed off because he did it to himself.
Yeah, no.
Well, Spider-Man did break his camera, but...
But that's the whole thing.
Later, chump.
Good riddance. But that's the whole thing. Eddie Brock's an asshole.
Yeah.
Which, a lot of people said they're like Topher Grace took me out of that movie. Somebody,
I like him.
I like him.
No. Somebody said that to me today. They're like, I can't watch it because of Topher Grace. I was like, he plays a nerd on that 70s show. I was like, I've watched him play Eddie Brock, who's just an asshole, and a serial killer in Predators. Those are the roles I want to see him play.
And a racist in BlacKkKlansman.
Yes, that's right. He did play David Duke. But those are the roles I want to see him play because he played a nerdy kid for so long that people are just like, I can't see him other than Eric Foreman, and it's like, no,
I thought that
he has range.
I think that Topher Grace did a fine job as Venom.
He did.
And Eddie Brock.
And that's the other thing that people complain about. They're like, oh, you and I had this conversation.
Yeah.
Where we're like, oh, it doesn't look like Venom. The hell it doesn't. I pulled up pictures of the Spider-Man 3 Venom, and I'm like, it's Venom.
We discussed.
People get mad because he has Topher Grace's face for the majority of his Venom. A lot of people care.
I mean, yeah. So what? He doesn't talk.
He has Shark Ray teeth, though.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yes.
Which is cool. I don't know. That never bothered me.
No.
I think it worked well for his character because he wanted Peter to know that it was him.
Right.
He didn't want to disguise himself as Venom. He wanted him to see his face and know that it was him who was after him.
He prayed to God to kill Peter Parker. That's a little cringe.
Yeah, that part's a little cringe.
Yeah.
I want you to kill Peter Parker. That's not how God works.
So, yeah, and that priest...
I think I literally said that out loud when I watched it.
And that's the other thing, is that priest is walking around, in the background, tending to the altar, and, Eddie's just sitting there I want you to kill Peter. You think that guy would have been buddy,
we don't do that here.
Yeah, come again? We don't do that here. Get out of here.
Yeah. Yeah, but...
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely way too many villains, but I don't think...
Too many cooks.
Yeah, too many cooks in the kitchen. I don't think any of them are particularly bad.
No, they're all good in their own right. Mm-hmm. I think that if you ask me, the villain who gives don't want to say the worst, the least compelling performance, it's Sandman.
Really?
Everyone else,
mine too.
Everyone else kind of gives their all, while Thomas Hayden Church, and it's not anything wrong with him. I think his character was kind of set on the back burner.
Yeah.
Because they had to put Venom in there. It's just Thomas Hayden Church is just there.
Yeah,
and
I
it's
agree.
just like,
I feel like if
hey,
anybody gets
like,
a shaft in this movie, it's Sandman.
Yeah, because he's just there. Like, he's just like, okay.
And then I guess away at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess at the beginning, like when he breaks out, you get to see his kid. You know, that's the reason he wants to steal money. But once they like establish that, yeah, he is just there.
Yeah.
You are correct about that.
Well, yeah, and then
until the very end.
As the second movie, we're dealing with Peter losing his powers. This movie, we're dealing with him being corrupted by the symbiote in the black suit.
Yeah.
And he's like, he thinks that he literally kills Sandman. And
he's just perfectly okay
yeah,
with
he
that.
talks to Aunt May and he's like, oh, another criminal off the street. And he's like, Spider-Man doesn't kill people? Like, what's wrong with you?
Do you guys think that Aunt May at this point
yes, she knows?
Yeah, she knew.
She knew in the second movie.
I think, I was going to bring that up whenever we were talking about it. I'm pretty sure she knew when she gave the speech when she's moving. She's like, people need heroes.
Yeah.
And there's a hero in all of us. She knew that like, Peter was Spider-Man at that point.
Yeah, because she said something about that kid, what was his, Jackson or something like that, where she's just like, he's been asking where Spider-Man's been. She's just like looking at him like you know where he is. I know where he is.
I guess I always wrote that off as like, oh, he takes his pictures.
So they must be friends.
Yeah. Oh, they're buddies. They're drinking buddies. You can find him at the bar.
Oh yeah, but like as I said, Peter being a photographer being essential to this is because he hurts Eddie Brock's fifis.
Yeah. Put some dirt in your eye.
So that
looked very familiar.
That tees up Eddie Brock's revenge story to Peter and subsequently Spider-Man.
And then Peter just happens to be at the same church Eddie Brock is at. Peter is brooding at the same church that Eddie.
He rips the symbiote off.
Yeah.
Because he's like, this is not good.
That is a weird coincidence.
That they're both there at the same exact time.
Yeah, that's a contrivance for sure.
Because neither of them are religious.
And for some reason, Eddie knows.
Clearly
it's
not
Peter.
Eddie.
Why does Eddie know it's Peter?
He
hears the whole. Yeah,
I know.
But he can't even see who it is. He just hears screaming, and he goes, "Parker." Like, and it's like, how the hell did you know that? Have you heard Peter scream at work before? And you're just like, that's Peter Parker's scream.
Yeah, that's a good point. There's really no way of knowing why he knows it's Peter, but
yeah, and all that happens is the symbiote just like drops down on Eddie. Like, how is he to know that that's Peter Parker out there?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I like how...
Or did he see... Well, no, because he still wouldn't even know that. Because even if he saw Spider-Man in the black suit up there, he's still not going to know it's Peter.
Right, yeah.
I like how they kind of teased JJ being Venom, but from his inclusion in the second movie, but then they're like, just kidding, it's Eddie Brock in this movie.
Yeah. Oh,
because...
the son.
Yeah, because he becomes Venom in a couple of storylines.
Yeah, and
he has his own character, too.
And Flash. Flash also becomes Venom in a couple of storylines.
What's his character? It's a wolf type of character that John Jameson becomes.
I don't know.
Moonwolf or something like that.
I have no idea.
It's some goofy ass
Never
thing.
even knew that.
But yeah.
Oh, he becomes like a werewolf?
Yeah.
Because he went to the moon.
Yes.
That's lame.
Oh my god.
Now that I think about it, that's fucking lame superhero or supervillain.
Well, I know in, I forget which one. It might have been the 90s.
Too.
Might have been the 90s animated, what's his name, John Jameson?
Yeah.
Is that his name? When he comes back, he brings the symbiote.
Yeah.
Like on the ship when he comes back.
Which I think that's implied in Venom.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
He was the one who brought back the symbiote.
Yeah, one of the cartoons did it that way, too.
So, yeah, and I think that's why everybody thought that, like, John was going to be back in the third one, because they knew the symbiot was involved.
And
so
you set him up because MJ left him for Peter Parker.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that would have been so much better.
Yeah. But instead, they were just like, no, Eddie Brock. Like, and it makes me wonder if Sam Raimi was like, okay, well, then we do John Jameson. And they're like, no, Eddie Brock. And he's like, but it makes more sense if it's John Jameson. And they're like, yeah, but no one's gonna know that.
You're probably not wrong.
Like he probably
everybody knows.
It's kind of funny how. Well, I was gonna say with the exception of Sandman, but they're all like directly linked to Peter, like intimately.
Right.
Like but it still like brings in Peter being the photographer for the Daily Bugle would still be the driving force because that's his boss's son.
Yeah.
So it still wouldn't have mattered. It still would have been the driving force.
Yeah.
Wouldn't have mattered. Eddie Brock.
It's so crazy. Yeah.
Sam Raimi likes photographers, I guess.
He does. So continue with the plot.
I mean,
the big showdown at the end. We gotta cover the big showdown.
Well, okay, we'll start with the confrontation between Harry. Well, when I don't even remember when Harry gets his memories back because
when Harry and Peter.
I'll say this: Peter and MJ have a falling out.
Right. Oh, that's when.
No.
Is that?
Yeah, no, that's not it. They kind of are having like a thing back, or like Peter has become so egotistical that he's like not even paying attention to MJ's issues or anything, and is completely oblivious to the fact that she's not actually on Broadway, and she's been trying to tell him that, but he's not listening because he's just like, I'm Spider-Man.
I don't even think she's been trying.
Kind of leans into Jonah Jameson, her leaving him at the altar because J. Jonah Jameson can just slander her or libel her in all of his news articles.
Yeah.
It's like, destroy her acting career. It's like, you left my son at the altar, I'm just going to destroy your acting career through my articles.
Yeah. And then, that's right. So they have their little fight at dinner where he's going to propose to her. And, she leaves, and then she calls Harry. They hang out, have dinner, and then kiss, and then they're both like, uh-oh, gotta go, and then they leave, and then Harry finds some mask or something, and then hears his father's laugh, and then it triggers everything back. Like, that is the thing that triggers it back.
Why does Harry have hallucinations of his father?
Because he's got daddy issues.
Well, he took the serum, and
but before that, like, whenever he discovers that his father was the Green Goblin, he sees Norman Osborn and is like, "Oh,
in the mirror,
it was you."
Because he throws
avenge me! Like, what? Like, why did you have that hallucination, you crackpot?
Right. Yeah. Okay. I don't know.
I mean, I think that's just to illustrate like he was at his breaking point.
That's fair.
No, this is the part that I was mentioning to you earlier that I said I wanted to talk about. In the flashback where he is like getting his memories back, and he's talking to Peter, and he goes, my father, he died, right? It uses an edit from that scene where they're talking about something else, and Peter goes, yeah, like he's laughing, like they cut it to where he's like, my father, he died, right? And he's like, yeah, like laughing about it, like, yeah, he's dead, man.
Like, maybe he's like, yeah, you're getting your memories back. Yeah, he's dead.
But like, he didn't say it like that. Like, Peter actually doesn't even say anything. He says, my father, he died, right? And Peter's just kind of like, doesn't even say anything, and he's just like, yeah, I thought so. Like,
I thought he said yeah, but in like a yeah, or a...
It might have been
something
like that, but the way that they cut it when he's like, my father, he died, right? And he's like, yeah. Like,
I was just meaning
like he's got like a smile on his face and everything, and I think that's part of like what drives him again, where he's like, he's laughing at my father's death, I know it was him. Like, that's his memories, like, playing tricks on him, where he's like, that bastard.
But yeah, so Peter is being influenced by the black suit, and he confronts Harry, and he maims him with his own grenade.
Yeah, they have a big fight, and then
I like that scene the best, probably, in this entire movie.
Yeah.
That's a good scene.
I protected you in high school, now I'm gonna kick your ass.
Ooh. Yeah.
Yeah, and then he throws the grenade at Peter, and he just goes...
Yeah, he wets it,
and like throws it right back at his face.
And then we get the walk-away explosion.
Yeah. Which, Harry should be dead, I'm just gonna say it.
No,
he's horrifically scarred.
He is
well, that's true. That's probably the only reason he's alive.
That is why,
still.
yeah.
But I don't remember why he comes around to being on Peter's side again.
The butler.
And he
does,
yeah.
He told him that.
Yeah, because he was telling, like, when Peter showed up and he's like, I need your help, and I basically would have just been like, fuck off, dude.
Yeah.
Like, You scarred me for life, literally. I'm blind in this eye. Like, I'd have been like, dude, fuck off.
The
like,
night your father died.
Yeah.
Oh, you're fired, bro. Why didn't you tell me this 4 years ago?
Right, yeah. You know, I've been obsessing about Spider-Man.
That's always a great joke in that How It Should Have Ended. Where
Yeah.
it's like, where he's like, half of my face is blown off because of this. You could have told me this, and this all could have been avoided.
Yeah, so...
And he would be dead. Wow,
he probably could have died. But yeah, so he... why do Venom and Sandman team up? They're just like, we'll get rid of Spider-Man together.
Yeah, because
pretty much,
basically they just want to kill Spider-Man.
Yeah, so the end battle happens.
With Giant Sandman.
Yeah, Giant Sandman, Venom. Harry dies, and...
By his own glider.
Yeah, by his own glider. And Venom also dies by his own... Eddie Brock dies because of his own...
And
greed.
Peter was gonna save him. He
did
out.
save him.
Yeah.
And then that's what happens. All three of these movies... I don't want to say the main villain, because there isn't really a main villain in this movie, but at least one villain in each movie dies by their own machinations.
Yeah.
I want to say one thing about that scene is when he gets Eddie out of the symbiote. That is terrifying, watching the symbiote build up like higher to where it's gonna like come over the thing to like attack Peter or whatever.
Yeah.
And then he just like ends up like banging the thing and it like shrinks back down. But like when they show that shot, because he like turns around and it like crane shots like out from its perspective and it shows how huge it is. I was like, oh my god, that's terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have
the sound it's making is
oh, it's blood curdling. Yeah.
They're fighting in a construction zone. And MJ is once again, the damsel in distress.
For the third time.
Yeah, she has no agency in these movies, which is one fault I could give Sam Raimi for this.
Yeah.
It's just like, MJ doesn't always have to be the person to save. Like, I don't know.
I agree. My favorite part of this end battle scene is the reporter that's reporting about it.
Yeah.
The old man?
No, the woman. The
British woman. Oh, that's right.
Did you guys catch who it was? Well, you probably guys didn't watch it. Once Upon a Time, she plays Belle.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't have picked that.
Yeah, I didn't pick it up until this time.
No,
she was one of my favorite characters.
I just remember the old guy, the other newscast.
So
where he's like, "This could be the end of Spider." Like,
no, he's
while
good.
Peter's being pummeled by a giant that's made out of cinder blocks and sand, while he's just smashing Peter against the beam.
So the woman reporter, I don't know the actress's name, but she's like looking up at it, and then when it cuts to the old guy, it's just like a straight on cut, like.
He's just like,
it just doesn't add up.
It's like hard hitting stuff.
Like she's not even in the same position because the camera is looking at her and not in front of her, but when it cuts to him, it shows her like in the top corner and it's not even the right angle. Always bothered me.
And then we get the tearful story about how Flint was there for he didn't actually kill Uncle Ben. He had the guy like. There's one portrayal of it where it makes Flint out to be a cold-blooded murderer who just like blasts Uncle Ben and then leaves. But in this, Dennis runs up behind him and hits him in the arm, and that sets off the gun while Uncle Ben's trying to talk Flint out of it, and he's listening to him, and he accidentally shoots him and then has to flee. And then Peter forgives him because he says, "I'm not asking for your forgiveness." And then he says that he forgives him, and then he just
blows away
in the wind, and then they go over. MJ and Peter go over to Harry's dying body, and all right. Norman could have made it out, but Harry got stabbed.
Yeah, it was right through the heart.
Yeah, he wasn't making it out of that one.
I always noticed that about his death.
Yeah, he was a goner.
Yeah, because when Venom stabbed him, he stabbed him diagonal with the snowboard.
Honestly, he shouldn't have even been alive when they went over.
Yeah, no. He should have been dead way before.
Yeah, just almost instantly.
I can just imagine he was just laying there. He's like okay, guys, finish up the battle because I'm not gonna make it much longer. Like, so if you want to say your goodbyes, get over here.
And then he dies, and then Peter.
We end on another funeral.
Yep.
We didn't talk at all about the fact that Harry makes MJ break up with Peter.
Oh yeah, he uses her as the leverage.
Yeah.
To get Peter lured out.
And then how was it?
He's such an asshole in that scene.
Yeah.
Because she like breaks up with Peter and then she walks away and he was like, bravo. Like he's just like standing there like, good job.
Yeah.
Like, deserves an Oscar, you know?
And then it's...
Who says you can't act?
And then, Peter uses Gwen Stacy as a way to get back at
MJ.
At
And then he
MJ.
punches MJ.
Does he punch her or push her?
He turns around and hits her because he thinks somebody else is grabbing him.
Oh, right, yeah, he kind of elbows.
Yeah. Elbows her in the face.
Yeah.
And then we get the most iconic version of Peter Parker with the walking down the street doing.
Yeah,
It's meant to be cringy.
Getting the
Like,
suit.
that's
it
the
is
point.
meant to be cringy. Yes.
Like that's the whole point. People get upset because it's cringe. It's like that's the fucking
It's
point.
the whole point.
I don't hate it.
He's
but...
a nerd, and this is what he thinks cool is.
Yeah.
And
you can see everybody around him is like, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah.
Dude?
Yeah. It's just
Like the girls that he kind of like.
Yeah, and he's like, shut up, I'm cool. Like,
yeah.
it's just his overblown ego by the symbiote. Like, that's what it's portraying.
Yeah.
He's an asshole, but he thinks he's a god.
Yeah.
We don't have anyone like that.
Another great thing about these movies is the memes.
Oh yeah. Oh my god.
So the memes
Goldmine.
coming out of this movie, I feel like are done in a reverence to them, whereas the memes of the prequels, it's just like mocking the prequels. But this is like relishing like how good these movies are, just like all the memes.
Yeah.
Pizza time.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a ton of good meme framework.
So let's kind of quick.
I have things to say about these movies in general.
All right.
Oh, we forgot to talk about J. Jonah Jameson.
That's what I was going to get into.
Okay, J. Jonah Jameson in the third movie.
All the movies we didn't really talk about.
Oh no, but like in the third movie especially with the blood pressure medication.
Oh my god.
And his buzzer gets louder and louder every movie. So like when Betty's buzzing him, it's going like and it like shakes the whole table, and he's like, "What?" And then she's like, "Your wife wanted me to remind you to take your blood pressure medication." And he's like, "Thank you." Like, and then he goes and reaches for the pill. And, and she goes, "Not that one." And he goes, "Not that one." And then he goes and like points to it, and she goes, and then he goes. And then opens it, and she goes, and he drops all the pills, and she's like, be sure to drink plenty of water. And he goes, thank you.
Thank you.
That was one really good thing about
God.
Jonah in this movie.
He's so good.
That's one thing Sam Raimi does great is, I mean, he does multiple things great, but he does horror and comedy, and blending the two seamlessly on top of, obviously,
a superhero.
So I think one of my favorite J. Jonah Jameson moments is when he's going to get the suit back, and J. Jonah Jameson's talking about like, oh man, I made Spider, I was wrong. I made Spider-Man quit, and then you just hear the thwip, and he turns around, he's like, that Spider-Man, he's evil.
A menace.
Yeah, he's a menace.
I want him strung up by his web. There's another really good moment from him. Which is kind of funny now because they're trying to come up with names for Doc Ock that they can put on the thing, and he's like okay, and he's like what about Dr.
Octopus?
Dr. Octopus, and he's like no, he's like it's too obvious. And then he says Science Squid, and he's like no, and then he goes Doctor Strange, and he goes that's good, but it's taken. And he's like, wait, I got it, Dr. Octopus.
Doc Ock.
Yeah, and then he's like, brilliant, sir.
I knew you'd like it.
Yeah. But it's kind of funny that they mentioned Doctor Strange,
Yeah.
and now Sam Raimi's helming the second movie.
Oh wow, yes.
Yeah.
I didn't. Yeah.
The Doctor Strange connection.
And we're getting Tobey Maguire back.
That's right. Allegedly.
I don't care. It's got to be happening. If they're getting the villains,
they're getting the band back together.
If they're getting the villains, like, that would be the point if they didn't get the Spider-Man.
So I want to say one thing in general about these movies, and I think it's something that really makes these movies. And I'll tell you why, because the third one suffers from it. A good score. In my opinion, Danny Elfman's Spider-Man scores are on par with, like, Alan Silvestri's The Avengers theme.
Yeah.
Like, the Spider-Man theme is so well known. Like, you know it when it starts playing. And I think that the third movie suffers from it because he didn't do the score. I think that the third movie suffers a little bit because it didn't have Danny Elfman scoring it. Not that I think the music's bad. I just think overall, if they had had him score all three, there would have been a little bit more of a... Because something feels off in the third movie.
Yeah.
There's a tonal shift that feels off. And I think it's partially from the score.
It's so funny when you bring that stuff up because, like, I'm a musician and, like, I can't pick up on that stuff.
Oh, I
like
movie soundtracks is one thing that I'm, like, laser focused on.
Right.
Like, I love listening to
Even when I try to listen for things, for example, the Mortal Kombat trailer, I didn't realize that it was an orchestra version of the techno theme.
Oh, I still haven't watched that trailer.
Yeah, okay. Well, anyway, like, there's a part where it does the bump, 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 you know, the techno thing. And I didn't catch it the first, like, 3 times I watched it. And I watched somebody react to it, and they're like, oh my god, the Mortal Kombat theme. I'm like, oh, I'm oblivious.
Oh, yeah. But no, I think, like, and especially the opening, like, the main titles of the Spider-Man, like, the opening theme music is just like, amazing.
The opening for the second and even the third, it's amazing what they do because they recap everything that happened previously.
Fun fact about the recap in the second opening is all of those paintings are done by renowned comic artist Alex Ross.
Okay.
He does a lot of covers. Like, I know if I showed him to you, you'd know his work. From but he did all those, like, that they show in the second movie.
That's pretty good.
That's one thing that I like about the opening of the second movie, and I even like the opening of the first movie, but the second movie has, like, that comic book feel with the painted cells of the movie and all that.
I forget exactly what the third one visually looked like.
It was like
kind of cartoony. Oh, was it actual footage?
Yeah, it was actual, like, recap footage.
I still like it from what I remember. But...
No. And the third movie, like I said, the third movie is not as bad as I remember it.
But there's people out there that are still bashing it as hard as they were in 2007.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what's wrong with you guys?
I even recognize...
Have you even watched Thor: The Dark World?
Yeah, for real. And I
never finished that one.
I recognized back in 2007 that the movie was flawed.
Yeah.
That it definitely felt different than the other ones. But, like, even this is probably the third time I've watched that movie. Maybe the fourth. So, like, revisiting it, I was like, it's not as bad as I remember. I'm like, I would watch this again.
Yeah. I've watched it probably, maybe even more than the other two.
I had still watched.
I have definitely seen this one the most.
I would still watch 2.
I don't know. It's just something about Peter Parker being
the bad guy,
kind of pissed off a little bit, you know.
I'm the bad guy.
Peter Parker being an asshole.
Yeah, like, I don't know. I'm not an asshole, but, like, I somehow relate to that. I don't know how to describe it, but. Like, if I had a symbiote, that's probably what would happen.
Well, because it's corrupting you.
Right.
Like, that's the whole point.
Yeah.
It's our inner demons coming out to play.
So I just always, I don't know, I related to Spider-Man.
I don't think that Venom just works as a character well, because it's basically just the main character as a bad guy. Like, they do that with every superhero has the main character as a bad guy, as their, like the Flash. the Reverse Flash.
So you're meaning
Superman, Bizarro Superman.
You're meaning Venom in general.
Yeah. Not specifically in this movie, but Venom is just evil Spider-Man.
Right.
You know? And I feel like I don't give a fuck about Venom simply because of that.
Right. I get you.
Yeah.
I'm not the biggest Venom fan.
Like Batman and Nega Batman.
And the Joker.
You mean that guy in the Crown of Thorns?
Oh my god.
I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't see
You didn't see that?
You didn't see that image.
No. Ugh, it's pissing people off.
Ugh. Like, now, I don't mean to go off on a tangent, but Zack Snyder, like, has the Jesus imagery as, like, Superman, like, you know, the whole...
Yeah.
Him doing that.
He's always
But
done
he
that.
literally put Joker in a Crown of Thorns.
Yeah.
I'm not even joking. I wish I was.
Not even joking about the Joker.
Jesus Joker.
Yeah. Anyway.
So that's a thing.
So, do we want to... I don't want to rate it as a trilogy.
Oh, no, not at all.
So.
Let's rate it against the Gamera trilogy.
Wow.
Alright, well, game over, Gamera 1. Thanks for coming.
So I'll start with Spider-Man 1.
I was hoping you were going to start with 3, but...
Well, you want to go back?
No, I'm just messing.
We can go backwards if you want to go backwards.
No, I'm just messing.
I'm just trying to think. I guess I'll have to go like 7 out of 10. Like obviously it's above average. Like I stated as we started, it's not my favorite. Like if I pop one in, it's usually not that one. It's only when I've watched the other one too many times that I'm like, okay, well, it's time to watch that one again because I've watched the other ones a million times. So, yeah, 7 out of 10 for me on the first one.
I'll start with the second one.
We'll be all confused.
Well, in that case, I'll do 3.
No, yeah, I think I'm going to go 6.5 out of 10. I mean, it's still a great movie. It's elevated so much by Willem Dafoe as the Green Goblin, but the effects are a little dated, and I don't know. It's just the most dated of all of them.
Yeah.
Like the second one is campy, but I feel like the first one is just like it is camp. Like I feel like that's what it is.
And I wonder if that kind of is what impacts my.
Yeah, it draws it away a little bit from me.
Yeah.
I like campy stuff. And I like campiness, but it's like it just feels like that's what it is.
Yeah,
and maybe it's just because it's the oldest one,
right?
I don't know. So 6.5 out of 10 for me.
I'm gonna second your 7.
Okay.
It's like everything you guys said, but I'm gonna rate it a little bit higher than Shawn's and stick where you're at, just because Willem Dafoe makes that movie.
He's excellent.
Makes that movie.
Yeah.
When they eventually bring the Goblin into like the MCU or whatever, it ain't gonna top Willem.
No, I literally don't think they can.
They're not going to. I don't think.
Did not top. The Goblin, and I highly doubt that whatever they decide to do with the Goblin, they will never top it.
Yeah, I literally don't think they can, simply because like Willem Dafoe will just never be.
Willem Dafoe took the bar, and then high jumped and just took it. And we haven't seen him since.
Yeah. He's still jumping.
He's still up there.
Yeah.
The bar's that high that you're never going to be able to reach it.
So I'll start with the second one. Like we mentioned, almost a perfect movie. There's not a lot of examples out there. The only other one I can think of is like Back to the Future 1.
It's really a perfect superhero movie too.
Yeah. Like,
honestly, it is.
So I think I'm just against giving 10, so I think I'm gonna go 9.5. Because I don't know if there's a such thing as widely regarded perfect, but because I'm sure there's somebody out there that's like, this movie is garbage.
And you know what?
And they're wrong, but
burn in hell if you think that.
And they're wrong, but yeah, I'm gonna go 9.5 because I don't know if I'll ever give a 10, unless we talk about Back to the Future at some point.
I'll go 8.5 out of 10. it's my favorite of all three of them, but it has some of the pitfalls of just being, I don't know, some of the writing doesn't really click with me. A lot of the Peter and MJ stuff I just don't like at all. Like, I know it's essential to Peter's character, but it's just like, get on with it.
Yeah.
I like that stuff, just because it tells the story where Peter's like, yeah, but I'm like, hey, I'm actually like getting my shit together, so can we try this again? And then she's like, no, and then he's like, okay then. And then he's just like, well, I guess.
I don't even know if it's try it again, is it, at this point?
Well, yeah, it's just trying, and then...
Can we try this?
And then she's like, well, can we try? And he's like, no. Like, it's that back and forth where it's like, no, you said no, and now I'm past that point, so no. Like, I kind of like that stuff. It's 9 out of 10 for me. It is damn near perfect. Mm-hmm. This is in my top 10. Because it is a solid movie. Yeah. And it just has one of the greatest villains, some of the greatest action sequences. It's just great all around. Definitely my favorite of the three.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely my favorite as well. And
good. The one I originally suggested is our favorite.
Yes. So number 3. And whatever, sue me. I'm gonna go 8 out of 10. Now, it's probably just because of my personal, like, I was such a huge Spider-Man fan at this time, and I shifted, and I'd probably say like Batman's more of my superhero now, but like. This just came at the height of my Superman or Spider-Man love. So 8 out of 10. Like I understand that there's a ton of flaws, but I'm kind of biased to this one, I guess.
Yeah, I'm gonna go 5 out of 10. It's still a perfectly average movie, and it's fine. It's just so bloated, and even having like the long runtime, it's just still crammed full. It's like nothing really has room to breathe. So, I still enjoy it, but yeah, 5 out of 10.
6.5 for me out of 10. I wouldn't rate it lower simply because it's not as bad as I remembered it, but it is jam packed full of shit that. You like, and it's not that it's not important to the story. It's exactly as you said. It has no breathing room.
Yeah, if it was 3 hours long and they had more time to get whatever.
Can we get a Raimi cut?
Like, the Raimi cut.
Release the Raimi cut. But
there's more out there. We know it.
Oh, we know it. There's carnage in it too. But no, it's. But one thing that I had mentioned earlier is. It's tonally different than the other two. The other two are very consistent. Mm-hmm. This one just kind of, and it's not even that it takes a dark turn or anything. It's just weird. It doesn't feel like it meshes with the other two as well as it should. And maybe that's just because it's jam-packed full of stuff. Like everything else was structured properly.
Right.
Everything was integrated to where it worked. Whereas this, like Spider-Man 1 and Spider-Man 2 are like this. Here's 3 just doing its own thing. Like
flop it in the wind.
Yeah, like it's barely it's on a thread. Just
I feel like the first 2 movies were made with the intention of cohesion, and then in the third movie it could have been, but then it was like Venom now. Like the studio, Sony was just like, oh, okay, you can do another movie. Like list of demands. I just like pushed to Sam Raimi.
Yeah.
What's this?
Oh, Venom. Yeah, it just says Venom over and over. Like it's like
Venom.
It's like Jack Torrance's papers, but it just says Venom on every single one.
It's just the lyrics to Eminem's
Venom.
Venom.
So yeah, that's why I rate it the lowest. It's not that I don't enjoy it. I do. It's just that it was not. Yeah, it wasn't cohesive to the other two as well as it should have been.
Yeah. I was literally mildly obsessed when this movie came out.
Oh, so. I 100% was. I remember all of the Spider-Man toys that were like being released. Mm-hmm. I went and got almost every single one of them. Yeah. Almost every single one. I had New Goblin, Spider-Man, Venom, Sandman, every single one of them. No idea what happened to them.
Yeah.
Well, there it is. Our first trilogy review in a while. Yeah, so.
First in video form.
Yeah, first in video form. Nice to try things out. I mean, you guys have been trying it out, but...
Yes.
Nice for me to try things out.
That's right.
Anyway, thank you guys for watching or listening. Oh, I guess I have a recommendation, don't I?
Yeah, you do.
Oh, yes.
I was like, is he really gonna... Like, man, this really threw him off this time. Video.
Yeah, so that was our recommendation. It's my turn to recommend a movie. And I think I've decided on mine. I've been sitting on it for a while, so our recommendation for next time will be Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Didn't we do that one already?
No.
What am I thinking of?
I don't know,
but this is one of my favorite movies.
So, if you don't want to be spoiled for Who Framed Roger Rabbit, make sure to watch before next time. We're going to have a spoiler discussion of it. Thank you for watching or listening, and I guess we will see you all next time.
Yeah. Like and subscribe.
Pizza time.
Flip.